Yes, as we continue down the road, the witch's road, and the road is almost at an end. Here we are, episode 7 of Agatha All Along. There are only 2 more episodes, and we will get both of them next week. But before we get to any of that, we are here on Marvel Movie Talk right here on Geekscape to talk about episode 7 of Agatha All Along. And joining me, as always, you've been along for this entire walk on down the road. Katie Hampton, thank you for being here.
Hello, thank you for having me.
And making his triumphant return to the Geekscape screens, the one, the only Count Eric Connor.
Every road has its thorns. What's up, y'all?
And if you try sometime, you might get what you need. No, wait, sorry, I'm mixing up my songs.
Not at all.
Thank you for being here. So, Eric, this is your first opportunity to talk about Agatha All Along with us and all the fine folks in our chat, like Cam Egan, who says, "Hey, Marvelites." I would like to get some of your overall thoughts on the prior 6 episodes, just kind of an overview on what you've been thinking thus far.
I think it's like as we've gone further down the road, it's definitely been picking up steam. I think like the back, what they call it in golf, the back 9. Not that I golf, unless
No,
it's like a windmill.
Yeah, I know that is like I know that more as a TV term. You know, you pick up 13
Right.
episodes and then you pick up the back 9 for 22. That's the only back 9 I know, kids.
And we're going to keep it that way. Yeah, I think as it's been going down that road, down the road, it's been really kind of showing what it is. And ironically enough, something that hit me this week is I don't think Agatha is a great lead for this show. As I'm watching this more and more, and I'm getting more into like the ensemble, I'm finding like it's almost like the piece of it they haven't quite put in the perfect place is Agatha. I think like she kind of like fluctuates every episode's a little bit in ways that, and it's nothing against Catherine Hahn's performance,
No.
which I adore her. I've adored her for years as a performer. But I found like in the writing, like all of a sudden these last 2 episodes in particular, where the focus firmly went with other characters, I found like those episodes were pretty good. And she always has her moments. She used the word mensch this time, which I thought was exciting.
Did you feel seen when she used the word mensch?
I felt seen last week when it was a bar mitzvah. Finally enters the Marvel universe.
And I said that to Katie before we started, was that Brody was at New York Comic Con last week, where he is this week. I'll be damned if I know. But last week he was at New York Comic Con, and I was like, oh, so we have 2 regulars in our stable that are, let's say, members of the tribe, and we don't get their feedback on the bar mitzvah scene. And I attended your son's bar mitzvah, but you probably remember that because you were there. How did you feel that they did in terms of portraying that life event?
I thought it was lovely. I had nowhere near as much neon as either of my son's bar mitzvahs,
but still plenty of neon. Just
there
not
was
as
enough,
much.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was such like an interesting idea of like this idea of entrance into manhood. I mean, they could have done it with like a confirmation, but confirmations, I dare say, have less DJ action going than a bar mitzvah. And also too, I mean, as an actor, that he's like playing a 13-year-old, and yeah, you got to suspend your disbelief a hair, but not because of his performance, just because, I mean, even my 13-year-old who's taller than me doesn't look that mannish yet.
When the Fox network decided that Ian Ziering and his male pattern baldness was a high school sophomore, I think it's all been out the window ever since then. We're gonna have to suspend disbelief.
I think you and I, Christian, both look younger than Ian Ziering right now than he did in 90210.
That's fair, yeah.
Including gray beards. But also last week's episode too. I'm sure you guys, went into this like a same-sex kiss, and not in a cutaway quickly like they did in Star Wars way. Like more than just a same-sex kiss, a same-sex relationship, a legitimate relationship. And one that, as you said, felt seen. Like he truly felt seen by his partner, and his parents even like bring it up in a way that I know, the universe is filled with very angry men who look kind of like me, but I am not, and I'm angry about different things, plenty of things. But the idea that they are making a whole generation of young people feel seen and heard, I am not against. And I think it's exactly what comic books have done as long as they've been around, is making people feel seen and heard. So I found last week's episode, this week's episode, and this one I watched twice, and I'm glad I did, but we'll get into that.
Well, and I should mention that our friend Nate is not with us this week because he is off to Vegas and he's on the road right now, the Vegas road, not the Witches Road. But in his message to me, letting me know he wasn't going to make it, he said that this was his favorite episode so far. And back to back, we've gotten a couple of great episodes. And I know you weren't with us in the beginning. It was a little bit hit or miss, let's say, in terms of, but I will tell you, Katie, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts. I did fold laundry while watching this, but I was engaged the whole time. All right.
Okay.
It wasn't a mountain of laundry. And Daniel Drew just parked. He's off to chess class. Have a great show. He had a comment, but it references something I wasn't ready to talk about yet. So thank you, Daniel. And I know you'll hear this after because Daniel Drew, he's good people. So, Katie, overall thoughts on episode 7?
I freaking loved it. I can't tell which I loved more, last week's episode or this week's, but Patty. Oh, so good.
My whole heart.
There's only one gripe I have. I'm like, why can't we get more Patti LuPone singing? But apart from that, I guess that's not going to happen, and I'm a little bummed by that. But her story, her journey, this entire episode, the way it was constructed, even the shots, just so well done. Huge fan of this episode. It was incredible. I feel like we got some of those connection pieces that we were hoping for. As we talked about last week, and a little bit more of her backstory, including how she's kind of woven in time, and so cool.
Well, speaking of a little bit more, this show is nothing without David Brody, and we were understaffed last week, and we trudged through. We struggled, but welcome back to the show, David Brody. And
thank you very much.
I'm going to dive right into this comment from Ivan Soto. Christian,
Eric's here.
What did you feel about the episode's runtime? Didn't love it, but I will tell you, it didn't feel like that one that had, what was it, 24 episodes? Yeah, the 24-minute episode. Yeah. That felt like a teaser. That one definitely, they breezed right through it. This one, I felt like they packed a lot in, and it's like, yeah, this is a little short. But it didn't feel short like that one did.
Oh, this was dense. I mean,
it was so dense.
I'm glad I watched it twice, honestly, because I missed so many things first watch, and I wasn't folding laundry. I should be. Honestly, I probably should go right now, to be honest. Got a lot.
Great idea, actually, yeah.
I still have my laundry that I haven't folded from like 5 weeks ago. So
at some point, it folds itself.
Yeah, it really does.
That laundry hasn't been folded during the entire run of the show, Kate.
Exactly.
Mr. True. Brody, your thoughts on episode 7, sir?
Finally, and this was. I'm disappointed. Nate's not here because this is an episode even he had to like.
I will tell you right before you popped in, I mentioned that Nate wasn't going to be able to be here today, but in his message, he said this is his favorite episode so far.
Oh, that had to be. That's all I was. In addition to enjoying the episode, I thought I can't wait for the podcast. Nate's going to like this episode. Yeah, this was great special effects, great writing. It was seamless time travel. Everything made sense. It tied a lot together. I didn't sit there going, well, that didn't happen. No, that didn't. This was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. We got a little, if I remember correct, Eric, correct me here. I'm trying to remember what it was, but Catherine Hahn mentioned, she had like a Jewish saying at some point.
Mensch. When they called her a mensch.
Yeah. She'd say, you're a mensch, right? I'm like, that's the Jewish Catherine Hahn must have worked that into the script. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yes, Rio is death. We get it now. The secret is out.
Right.
But yeah, really good.
we've had two really badly kept secrets in this series. By the way, in the chat, a little back and forth, Ivan Soda said, "Why didn't Billy react to Agatha saying Mensch?" Daniel Drew, Billy didn't react because he's not William, he's Billy. Yeah,
But his parents are Jewish. He said, "I have a mother."
Yes,
not
but
the
he
Scarlet Witch.
doesn't. He doesn't remember his past within
Yeah.
that body.
But he's been around Jews every
my
day
God.
since.
It's like
he
living in
must
New
have
York
picked up
City.
Mensch.
Yeah,
I
if you
mean-
don't know Mensch by this
I
point.
mean,
You're
look,
paying
that part of Jersey probably has a couple of great delis, near.
Yeah, he got the Mensch mention. He got the Mensch mention, or the Mensch in.
No.
Mention.
Oh, also shout out to like the lines in this show. I have so many written down. I also have
Oh, okay.
a whole breakdown of like all the different ways the tarot cards were laid down and what everything meant. But I loved when
Well,
Teen said,
I would like to hear that. Eric, can you get the Baja men to shut up?
The Baja men will never be silenced, Kristen. You know that.
Who let them
Who?
That's a
out?
great point.
Who?
That's the owl from episode
That's
3.
right.
Well,
Uh,
you can sprinkle the lines in throughout the episode, but give us a couple right now that you.
Well,
took
the one
time
that I was
write
going to
down.
reference was that Teen called himself the queerant. The
Yes,
only
I
line that
think
could be said by him.
Yes, I liked that one, and I know, as always, when you have Eric Connor on the show, you get a lot of images, which I'll share as we go through as well. So, yeah, I mean, this is definitely one where we really hit the ground running. I mean, I think there was a lot of setup from 2 weeks ago, and then it was just the last couple minutes of last week's episode that really pushed us forward. But I thought it was great. We finally get to, as we knew we would. We knew we were going to get the Patty LuPone episode. We knew that we were going to get the backstory. And we also knew that she wasn't going to make it to the end of the road. So I think that they really gave us a lot, actually, and I did like how they handled her jumping around through time, like Sam Beckett in the Quantum Leap episode, where he's Lee Harvey Oswald and he keeps jumping around. Is that an inside reference? So what? You're here. What did you expect? It's called Geekscape for a reason. But
Mhm.
and Eric had wanted to show a clip of that, and I'm really nervous about showing clips. But Eric, talk a little bit about the filmmaking. This, where we see the camera basically spinning as she's jumping around, trying to put right what had once been put wrong.
Well, sorry for the wolves in the background here.
That's all right.
So yeah, there's that one continuous shot that was linking together like 5 of her personas from previous episodes, and it was so seamless in how it was done.
Yeah.
But also, you guys were bringing up how this thing was shot. One of the things I noticed when I grabbed a lot of the screenshots from this episode was how many times it kind of looked like this, like Patty LuPone kind of front and center, or one of the other actors front and center, almost more like what Wes Anderson does when he films, and I found like so much of what makes this work is when you have a Patty LuPone, or the whole cast is quite good, but like Patty LuPone front and center in so many of the shots, so much of it was about her face, her trying to catch up with the reality she's in. Which am I wispy, or am I, what was the other word there?
Kooky.
Kooky.
Yeah.
And her looking almost like Liza Minnelli here too, which would definitely be more kooky than wispy in my mind.
Young Liza. Young Liza.
The young Liza, yeah, right.
Yeah, the very, very
Liza, age 18 up here, I believe.
Yeah.
But there was that one shot, which it was one of those things too. It's like kind of like it calls a lot of attention to itself, but considering that shot put us right into her mind. That idea of like just she doesn't know what her reality is. You brought up Quantum Leap. One of my favorite episodes was when he was in a psychiatric ward and he kept getting shocked, and some various characters from previous episodes kept entering his body this time. So he was changing his voice.
I'm such a nerd that I know that that's the episode before the one I referenced. It was
Oh my.
the season 3 finale,
Wow.
and
You
and
all great.
Lee Harvey Oswald is because the shocks actually sort of explain why he's jumping around. So I did not know we were going to talk so much Quantum Leap today, but you know what? I'm here for it, and if
Well-
you're not, I'm sorry.
Still better
another
than talking about
Beckett.
Quantum Mania.
We can still talk about Quantumania this episode.
That's true.
But speaking of a Beckett, like this honestly felt like finally filling in the holes, like almost like a Beckett play. A lot of our story with Lilia is very Beckett-esque, where you're just like, what is she talking about? What is going
Right.
on? And now we're finally kind of getting the behind the scenes pieces of all of this and her filling this in. Oh my God. The flow of time is an illusion, Jen. Most people don't realize that. Another great quote. The fact that, especially talking about sort of where she is in the framing and how she finally comes to the point where she's like, she's been tossed around through time. And then when she finally centered and like realizes what power, like how the flow of time kind of flows through her, she's centered in the frame every single time afterwards, where she finally starts to understand what's happening and how her premonitions play into this moment at hand.
No, I agree, and I thought that that's why this episode is so strong. I think because of the focus on her, and Eric, you made the interesting point earlier about how the episodes that are shining are sort of like featuring Agatha as an afterthought. Now, I expect that these next two are really going to be big Agatha episodes, the 2 finale episodes, but these ones, I think, she's sort of more incidental in this episode, and even Teen really kind of, and I know that's not his name anymore, but even he takes a
teenager.
Yeah, you
using
full
his full name.
Another
By the way,
great quote.
Farad Muhammad said, "I'm all for more Quantum Leap talk."
Correct.
And you can catch Farad Muhammad and Mr. Brody and myself on the latest episode of the Blackcast, where we talk about Jason Reitman's new film, Saturday Night, about the night of the first episode of Saturday Night Live. So thank you, Farad, for being here and for being a part of that, and for being the voice of the Blackcast. Yeah.
Hey, what happens what's that guy's name always comes in and thinks he's in the wrong chat?
Oh, Hackride.
Yes.
What if Hackride comes in and goes, "Oh, this isn't the Quantum Leap chat? Sorry, I'll let myself. Wait a minute, it is," and then he stays.
I hate to piggyback plugs on top of plugs, but because you invoked the name Hackride, Hackride will be a special guest on the Halloween episode of the show I do, Who Are These Broadcasters, which is on the Who Are These Podcasts network. The gentleman who's responsible for Hackride has kind of retired that character because people hate Hackride so much. I love Hackride, and I said for our Halloween episode, can we conjure up the demon? And we'll be doing that, so you can catch that Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Anyway, everybody else, you have to save your plugs for the end of the show.
Sounds
For me, I'm just stacking them on top
All
of
right.
each other.
Because on the Brooklyn Boys podcast, we do the plugs right up front. That's how the Brooklyn Boys podcast is known for.
No. I was just gonna say the flow of time is going opposite within our own episode.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well,
I said that at the end. What happened?
Well, let me get my review of Venom while we're talking then. The new Venom. I've already seen it somehow.
wow.
Future me saw it.
By the way, Eric and I are seeing Venom: The Last Dance tonight. Who's jealous in the chat? Anybody
2
in the
chairs,
chat?
1
Who's jealous?
popcorn.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Nice.
make that video.
Popcorn trick.
Exactly.
2 cheers, 1 popcorn. Sounds.
Ivan Soto's asking about flashbacks from Robin from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Ivan Soto, I watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. every episode. I remember it. I don't know who Robin is. I'm sorry. The only Robin I can think of is Robin Sparkles from How I Met Your Mother. And that's
Robin
Robin
Leach.
Smulders, who is also Maria Hill, who apparently died in something that I can't remember because I forgot. I've made myself forget it.
That's who I thought he meant when he said Robin from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I immediately thought of her.
You thought of Robin from How I Met Your Mother.
I don't think he knows her name,
all say
so he called her Robin.
You thought of Robin Sparkles. All right. I think we might have lost the thread here.
So speaking of Burt Ward.
If you want a straight answer, ask a straight woman.
That's right.
phenomenal line from the show, bringing it
Agreed.
back.
Agreed.
Just
Thank you.
dragging you all back to the road. Amazing quote from Catherine Hahn there.
Agreed.
I love that basically it came out of like, where's Rio? The simple
Yeah.
question, where's Rio? And we find out later that is death. But I did love that the fact that Billy and Agatha go into the next challenge and they're in the waxing gibbous phase of the moon, which is supposed to in tarot represent a time of preparation, refinement, and nurturing intentions.
Told you.
Eric, do you wax your gibbons?
Well, it depends if Lauren and the boys are not in the house.
So
when they're around, it's a
So
small
they don't hear
house
the
in
screaming.
Burbank.
it's very difficult to figure out. Agatha, Ivan Soto in the chat. Agatha seems to want Billy to like her. Why is that? I don't know that that's what it is. I think that she's definitely got plans. I don't know. She wants to like steal everyone's powers, right?
That's
So
right. She
I
likes his
don't
power.
I don't think she wants him to like her at all. But
I think she can sense that like he has a lot of endless potential, and
Yeah.
maybe that's why. I mean, consider this. We've talked about how Agatha hasn't really been like the main focus of the last couple episodes. I think there's a reason for that.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, in uncovering everybody's power, uncovering everybody's true identity, uncovering what all of these people kind of bring to the table, that Agatha likely wants to bring out of them, or what death wants in, preparation. I don't know.
Well, let's talk about the flashiest aspect of the show, which of course is the reveal of Agatha in green with the pointy witch's hat. Oh, she's based on me, and I do believe that Billy says prove it. And but I'm not gonna lie, I can see some similarities. I absolutely can. And what did you think of that reveal? Let me start with Mr. Brody. Sort of we get into where this trial is going to take place, and we have Agatha made up as the Wicked Witch of the West, I believe. Is the
clearly Wicked is not canon then, because if you watch and believe Wicked, the prequel, then she's not a bad witch. So I'm assuming they're going with Wizard of Oz only as canon for this plot line, in which case it makes total sense that she's the evil witch. It's
Right.
Yeah. No, I think that it's a literary reference. The L. Frank Baum is the Bible of this, and
right, not Elphaba.
The musical that they've broken into two parts, and the first part is 2 hours and 40 minutes, inexplicably so. I don't think that that's canon in the Marvel universe. And I also don't think I can imagine myself sitting through that. But that's just me.
Wicked?
Oh,
the movie or the show?
The movie. I've seen the Broadway show, but they're turning the movie.
Show's fantastic.
But they turn the movie into two parts, and the first part is 2:40. And
yes.
I'm like, wait.
They ordered a grande.
I did see. Well, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah, great shot.
That does take us back there.
That's your private stash there, Christian.
No, that takes us back to an earlier moment in this series. But what I wanted to share was something that I saw online, and it was a behind the scenes on set photo. And this we get to see sort of both of them as their witchy persona, which I guess when Disney's involved, it's very easy to be like, well, she can look like that, but you have to look like Maleficent. But how did we feel about all of this, though? So we talked about the first part of it, Brody. The two of them in these, I don't know, would it be going out on a limb to sort of double down on the usage of the term mensch? Are these outfits fakakta, or am I just out of line here?
You shouldn't know from these costumes. I wouldn't wish him on a dog. I mean, him as Maleficent, I guess it makes sense for his character to be a female villain, sort of, because he owns it. She's great as the Wicked Witch.
Yeah.
I thought he was fine. I mean, he was fine. I thought her character, that outfit is fantastic on her. Thought it was okay on him.
Okay.
Well, it
That's
feels
my
like
opinion.
the spirit of WandaVision, throughout this,
Yeah.
how they would, consistently put them into sort of new characters and personas. It feels like, in some ways, like, well, this is how Wanda worked. So why not? Why not kind of go with this idea of like new adventures, new personas, new characters, new costumes? And yeah, this one might have been a little on the nose for him, but he did rock it. He looks hot. So yeah, why not?
Well, Eric, as our resident Mr. Blackwell, I would like your fashion critique of this costuming.
Oh, I mean, I think it was only a matter of time until they fully made Catherine Hahn just fully witch out, and so this just felt inevitable for her. With Melissa, I think maybe it's a little it's maybe 1 degree too cutesy for its own good, but again, he looks good. He is a wonderful actor. I've been watching Heartstopper, which is his first TV show. This was like his second credit, I believe. So that actor is really terrific. So I do enjoy that they're kind of having some fun with him now after him sort of being just like that kind of nervous onlooker for multiple episodes. I think now they're kind of letting him letting him fly on that broom finally, and it works. Maybe it was a little much, but that's okay. I'll forgive it.
Right. And obviously, I want to get Katie's thoughts, but Ivan Soto in the chat says Jen is apparently the evil queen from Snow White. Again,
That's what it is. Okay. I
yeah.
was like, wow, did they give her a rough costume? I was honestly very glad that we didn't spend too much time talking about the looks. It feels like we've broken sort of the format that a lot of us have been a little bit exhausted from in the previous episodes of just sort of like getting into the trial, getting into their new costume, commenting on the costume, having shenanigans, Agatha being like, let's not do it the right way, and then continuing on, and then they solve it and they go on their way.
I
feel
do like the quote from Jen on screen that our visual audience can see, which is
this
we
is
can
actually the
be
second one.
we can be culturally offended later.
Later,
Yes.
Yeah.
exactly. And like honestly, that felt like perfect for the moment. That was the line I was going to bring up myself, but yeah, focus up, Calderu. I did love Jen's arc in this episode. She really kind of focused up herself, and especially after, I guess, which was at the beginning for her of their journey this episode. But when Ileana finally tells her like, hey, I'm going to be a little bit weird, but this is what's going on, make sure you know this and this, and Jen really took that to heart. She really guided her through these moments when she came back to her, especially meeting Teen and being like, no, you're cool with him, just go with that, just trust me on this. But yeah, I didn't realize that she was the Snow White one, but that
Yeah, no. It's
She
almost
should have had
like
the apple.
well, I was going
Right.
to say this is sort of that version when she's like the old lady with the apple. This
And
is
she even
when
has a line like, "I don't even want to talk about it." Like, or we could talk about the appropriation later.
Well, yeah,
oh yeah.
but she's like, catch up. We'll talk about this later. Like, I
Yeah.
don't even want to comment on this.
Right. Yeah, we can. Yeah, that's the we can.
Oh,
be
there it is. We can be culturally
later.
offended later. That's a
Yeah.
great line.
Yeah, but she's not.
Eric just
the-
time jumped.
this is not the. Yeah, this is not the mirror, mirror on the wall version of that character. This is the
Right.
disguise. So yeah, look, they're having some fun with it, and Katie, you had mentioned something about the tarot cards, and I feel like you have notes related to them, which I was rolling up socks at this point, but still, again, completely engaged,
so to speak,
fixated completely on the screen. But
rolling up socks.
they're literally rolling up socks. But what did you notice about the usage of the tarot cards?
Well, so I didn't do a whole lot of digging into sort of like the fake readings or the ones that Billy tried to do or the ones that Agatha did. I know that probably holds its own little Easter egg mysteries and things like that. But what we see here, thank you for getting this photo. But what we see here is apparently the 6-card layout for a tarot reading. This is not typical. Usually it's a 3-card layout. But the first one is the one in the center here is supposed to represent who the traveler is. And when we finally get towards the third act of this show or this episode, we realize that it's Patty, and she reveals the Queen of Cups. And the Queen of Cups is supposed to symbolize compassion, caring, emotional stability, intuition, and flow. And a lot of that, it seems like she's been blocked on for several reasons, and probably even her own reasons, trying to save herself from this fate. And realizing, especially talking to her mentor or the person who taught her how to do all of this, is that she's been keeping herself from this by not letting time flow through her. And she's bouncing around and it's crazy and whatnot, but then she finally locks in and gets to it. And what she reveals for the next one, the next thing is we see what the path behind is. And that's where we see Alice. And Alice is represented as the Knight of Wands, which is a tarot card that symbolizes passion, energy, and impulsiveness, which is interesting because she's sort of the warrior side of things. She was supposed to be the protector, but her impulsivity in trying to save Agatha was ultimately her downfall and caused her to die. Then we see what the next one, I believe. So that was the path behind. And then we have the obstacles ahead. So looking forward, and we see that as Agatha with the 3 swords. And in the card, you can see sort of the trees in there, but you also get a flashback of Agatha when Ileana says 3 of Swords. And we're like, we didn't even realize that like that was one of her sort of premonition things. But 3 of Swords is the tarot card that symbolizes grief, heartbreak, and sorrow. So I think that's one of the main reasons why we still haven't gotten a lot from Agatha, because a lot of her story is going to be centered around her son, how she had to give up her son for the Dark Hold, what that means in conjunction with Rio, death, how death had to take her son. And I feel like we're going to get something either in the next episode or the one. I mean, it's all going to come out next week. It's all next week. Yeah. So something about that is going to be revealed. I feel like we're finally going to understand the connection, what deal Agatha potentially made, especially with Rio, death, whomever, and how that sorrow has either helped or hindered Agatha in this entire journey. Then we've got the path. Oh, okay. Let's see. Path ahead. Yeah, path ahead is. Then we see Saphir, and Saphir Zameda is represented as the High Priestess, symbolizing intuition, sacred knowledge, divinely feminine, and subconscious mind. So I feel like Jen is going to be locked in some capacity in the couple of episodes. In one of the teaser shots, we've seen Jen coming out of the ground into what seems to be Westview. Like she seems to be crawling out of like the actual ground. So whether or not she dies, I'm not really sure if I can predict that, but I feel like she's also a key missing piece of what is potentially to come. I think she might make it out, but I mean, that's up to you guys to figure out too.
Yeah. Well, we'll know this week, next week at this time. I did appreciate sort of the way that Agatha viewed the deck of tarot cards, because it's kind of the way that I think about it, that it's really all a scam, and she just starts flipping them down. Now, I would say that if every time I did that, swords were falling, I would probably stop doing it. So yeah. But that's just. But I thought that the design of that whole scene and the way that it unfolded, and sort of the revelation is Patty LuPone's character named Lila. It's spelled weird.
It's Ileana, right?
It's Lilia. Lilia. Thank you.
Lilia.
All right.
Sorry.
So Lilia. Just sort of the realization that she's like, oh no, I'm reading for the wrong person, and then it all comes into place, and sort of there is the nice reveal towards the end, but we'll get to that in a moment. I wanted to talk to Eric and Brody about. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
Because we're not done with the tarot reading. Sorry.
I thought that they flipped over the card where the stage manager's going like this.
Wrap it up.
Somebody just flipped over the Fool card.
But No, please. I'm sorry. By all means. Yeah.
Then we have the windfall car, which refers to Billy, and Towers Reversed. As we know, Towers Reversed suggests that you're undergoing a significant personal transformation and upheaval. There's a lot going on with Billy. He doesn't quite know who he is. I think Mark may have just lost a Fortnite round if you heard that. But there's two indications. Upright. The Towers Reversed, upright means sudden change, upheaval, chaos, revelation, awakening, as we've already known before, and then reversed, personal transformation, fear of change, and averting disaster. So I think when Lily kind of put the sigil on Billy, this is sort of revealing why that was needed, because it wasn't until sort of these last two episodes that he was able to have that reversed. Yes, he embodied the William Kaplan, but on top of everything that's happened now, I think we're finally going to see a change in Billy, and like he might go a little bit towards the magical side of himself, as opposed to trying to figure out who William Kaplan was. Feel like that's potentially what all of this is leading towards. And then the final destination, the card that lays on top of everything we see, is death. And death is a card that represents not death the actual, but transformation, typically needing to start over or letting go of the past, which then leads us back into the story of Agatha and letting go of the past of her son. Anyway, that's all I have.
Very much. No, I appreciate it, and I'm sorry to try to kick you out from the knees, especially knowing all the physical therapy you had to do last year. So it's really inappropriate of me to try to kick your knees out. From you.
Appreciate it.
What
put
stands
so
in the
much
way?
more-
Christian.
There is a card with a card with me where I've got my arms up like. That's really all I'm gonna do.
Not a mensch, then.
No. I've
Yeah,
never
one's
been
ever accused
mistaken
him of
for a
that.
mensch.
No.
Not a lot of mentions actually named Christian.
Yeah,
Great
right.
point. It's an excellent point. So,
Righteous
religion is his
Gentile.
name.
No, righteous Gentile. You can be that.
wow. Eric, I wanted to get your thoughts on the whole conceit of this part of the episode, the majority of the episode, the tarot reading, the swords, and sort of the way that it plays out. But give me your thoughts, sir.
Sure. Well, one thing I noticed in the tarot reading was when the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, peace will guide the planets and love will steer the stars.
This is the dawning.
Thank you. I also noticed, by the way, it's a story circle. It's one of the images I sent you.
You did send me that. Sure.
Not to cue you up for something, but in fact, as I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're literally talking about hero's journey, or heroine's journey. And I like that this guy's got a stick.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have a journey without a stick. I mean,
and a bustle.
Hello, Moses.
Yeah, Moses, all right with his rod. Right. No, don't read into that. But yeah, I thought the tarot stuff was really smartly used. I love the swords coming down. I also made a comparison, if you saw in the pictures as well, Christian, to it reminded me of another great property, which was, of course, Flash Gordon, which many things remind me of.
Many things remind you of Flash Gordon, and
I had two specific things in this episode that gave me the Flash Gordon feel. There you go.
There
the spikes. Them wrestling with the spikes for some of you. I was like, okay, you just turn the spikes upside down, and boom, you got Agatha. And then also,
what was your other one?
The hourglass.
Oh,
one of the greatest lines in Flash Gordon is, "You have until the sand runs up." So both of these moments,
which by the way, I thought you had used that image from Flash Gordon because he looked like Joseph Culp as Dr. Doom in the Roger Corman Fantastic Four. Is actually what I thought that looked like.
I'm sure they had the same tailor.
Absolutely.
I think her really understanding what she needed to do, and finally kind of getting to see the table. And again, when that second time watch, I just can't stress enough, that's when I really started to see things and the plans and the payoffs. This episode is really smartly drawn together. So it is doing what they did in movies like Arrival, or if you saw one of the great episodes of Lost, when Penny's boyfriend, I always forget his name, the Australian guy, when he's
Desmond,
thank you. When he's jumping back and forth in time, trying to piece it all together. And then, of course, this imagery with the Salem ladies, who I got to watch a screening with. They were
Ah.
sitting right behind me
Creepy.
during my friend's screening of her episodes, and they're all like contortionists, and they're really cool. They almost like they've become like buddies. They all kind of like travel in a pack. But I thought the reappearance of them here was smartly used. And then, of course, how she thwarted them, and that last moment of her acceptance, which she really, the beginning of the episode tells you exactly where it's going. So it's not like the end of the episode, like, oh my God, they killed her. It's like, well, yeah, watch the beginning of the episode, which is this image basically.
Yeah.
But her,
Yeah. So and let's
acceptance-
just talk about the image for our audio
Yeah.
audience. So this is sort of
for you
her-
radio listeners out there.
Now hold on, everyone. You have to understand what we're all looking at. So it's basically she's falling, and it's sort of inevitable, which we'll talk about just how inevitable it is because of the fact that we don't see it. But we see that she's falling there, and I think that image, and you're right, there's the look on the face there. It is that of acceptance. I think that's absolutely what we're seeing on her face is the simple fact that she's accepting what is about to happen to her. Now, I, of course, saw that, and it reminded me of a different film where
Logan's
a
Run.
character had to actually had to
Run,
come
Lola,
to
run.
terms with accepting something that was about to happen to them. So that image, of course, made me think of the great
I
Hans
legit thought
Gruber,
this too.
high
think
atop
he's-
of Nakatomi
That's not
Plaza.
acceptance on that face.
No,
Oh,
that is
no.
not. It's
No,
the
no, no.
opposite. It's
That-
the Tower
that-
Reverse.
That's
Right.
the that's the realization of, oh, that watch has now been unfastened, and that
The
face
one
says,
thing keeping up.
oh shit. Yeah. And
Oh, to
yeah.
Ellen
and
Rickman.
Katie, I know how important this film is to
Oh,
you
yeah.
and Mark. So, yes.
The reason I
so-
mentioned Logan's Run, by the way, was the way they were all floating towards the ceiling,
Right.
and then they were turned upside down. But when they were first, that all flying thing reminded me of Logan's Run. Rebirth.
Well, it gave me the opportunity to talk about the greatest Christmas movie ever made, which of course is
nope.
the original Die Hard. Nope.
Not a Christmas
100%.
movie.
You don't celebrate
Lethal
Christmas,
Weapon?
you don't get an opinion anymore.
I celebrate movies.
Oh wow! What is this,
I like
UCLA?
Christmas.
It's the movie happens on Christmas Eve. It has 3 bangers of Christmas songs in it, including Run DMC's Christmas in Hollis.
Hollis, of
And
course.
this is a conversation that'll be coming up on Geekscape as a part of the annual fundraiser that our buddy Matt Kelly does. There's a whole episode devoted on this. So, and yes, obviously you do celebrate movies, and you can have whatever opinions you want. But
Thank you.
on this show, where I can kick people out of the rooms,
Mhm.
we get to
Graham.
say that Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and someone can disagree, but that doesn't take away from the fact that I am right. Now, what you were talking about, though, Eric, it is a nice ending for her. I like the cyclical nature that it's like, okay, she dies, and I think that my interpretation of that is now she's finally able to live her life without jumping around like that. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
now. So I do feel, and I'm going to ask each of our other panelists, I feel like there's a reason we don't see her actually die. One, it would be gruesome, but I feel like we're not done with her yet. What do you think to that, Eric?
Oh, I mean, I listen. No one ever quite dies in this. It's like wrestling. No one ever retires. Heel turns, baby
Well,
My
face
heart might
turns.
disagree.
Except Vince. I think Vince
Right.
might be done.
Oh,
done with it.
you know what? To never count him out. It
You know
doesn't
what? That's a
matter.
great point. They had Alec Baldwin on SNL this weekend, and he's
yeah.
allegedly charged with manslaughter, but exonerated, I guess.
Well, I don't
So,
think he'll be on the show to promote Rust, so this is the only way they could get him. Unfortunately, it was
Yeah.
just
Well, I'm
in
just
that small role.
I'm
He
just
already
excited
promoted
for
Rust.
I'm just excited for the digital short that'll be made by Roman Polanski on next episode. So-
Ah,
Oh.
nice.
What? They're
Very
letting
good.
everybody back
Good,
into
good.
Hollywood, Eric. You know,
That's
what I'm
true.
saying.
Hey, Mel
Yeah.
Gibson, man, he got an Oscar nomination since then. So, anywho, yes,
And he had a
people
TV
do
show.
come back. People do come back, and I
Yes.
agree. There's a reason we didn't see it, but I also thought, even if we don't see her again dramatically, the point was not the impact. The point was her acceptance, her finally kind of reaching a moment of peace, which was I think a big part of her journey was even her working the bar mitzvah circuit. It's like she would see a broken death line or lifeline and be like, "Oh my god!" And it's like she's probably not getting paid enough to feel that much doing that gig, but yet here she is in her final moments, finally understanding who she is. I love that line about "I always loved being a witch," and appreciating her piece in the puzzle, what card she's been dealt. And that last moment of her with, I assume, I don't know, her grandmother, whoever that was, in the old country. Did they specify Katie? It looks like
they called her maestro, which means teacher in
Right.
Italian.
Wait, that was Bradley Cooper?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The makeup job.
The makeup, I mean, every single
not
time.
a sensitive nose this time. Though.
There's
Yeah,
nothing
that's the
that
nice
he
part.
can't do. I mean, he's been the Elephant Man, so obviously there's anything he can do anything. So the maestro is what they refer to that character as. You're saying, Katie.
Yeah, I did hear a very wild thought that Lily goes back. I mean, because someone said maybe it's Lily, but like as like the crone, we've got the whole theme that we haven't really returned to of Maiden Mother Crone. Someone mentioned like that might be her mom. Maybe it's her in like a different time slip or something. And I'm like, nah, I don't think any of that. I think she's also a seer, someone who taught. I can never. I'm just like Patty LuPone. Okay, I can never.
It
remember
helps.
her
It helps that when she's so recognizable.
But
yes.
one of the lines that I really loved that she ends up saying to the maestro is, "I'm a forgotten woman," and the maestro saying, "Then remember yourself." Oh my god! Especially like with Patty, who's clearly like the crone figure. She's sort of the older, like, but she's just as scared as she was when she was a little girl, and like experiencing life the way she experiences it. That's got to be very confusing.
But then her at the end as a happy girl, like that was actually the thing that really nailed it for me.
Which it seems to be a theme with everybody's like sort of journey in their own like houses, is like coming to terms with some of like the hardest parts of their life. Whatever their witchcraft is either like hindered or helped or hurt people. It's like actually coming to that acceptance and whatever result that comes from. Jen is the interesting one because she survived hers. Alice didn't. Lilia didn't.
Deborah Jo Rupp
did not.
No peace on that face when she died.
Nope.
AKA Kitty Foreman. And I wanted to include a comment from our friend Kama Egan. The hourglass reminded me of the opening credits of Days of Our Lives. Like sands in the hourglass. Speaking of sands in the hourglass, and I don't know how that's actually a transition. Brody, what did you think about sort of what we've been talking about? Just the way that the tarot cards and the swords on the ceiling, the whole construct, I thought was I'd say the cleverest bit in the 7 episodes so far.
I was looking at the room to see if there were places on the edges where they could have not been attacked by the swords, like were there safe spaces. It looked like there were like alcoves that they could have not had swords dropping on their heads. And I have a question though. The Salem 7, when they're falling to their deaths, I understand why the fox died. But the snake probably could have wrapped itself around the swords, and the bird, the crow. Why didn't you turn back into a crow and fly away? Aha.
Those are all great questions. And by the way, speaking of them, Ivan Soda said, so you were okay with the Salem 7 just being cliche monsters?
I'll take this one. Yes.
Oh, interesting analytics on that.
I thought it was a little bit of a missed opportunity. We could have done more, but I don't know how much more I actually needed. I don't think you're wrong, Ivan. I do think that they were just sort of like a device to keep them moving. Yeah. But to Brody's point, I don't know. You at the very least, the crow could have gotten away.
Yeah, I understand
who knows?
Gazelle,
I mean,
the gazelle bites it. I get it, but the crow.
Well, we could also start asking questions like, why didn't the Salem 7 have to go through their own trials? Why were they just able to like sneak into everybody's trial, and like, how did they follow them? And how come their road wasn't
Don't
different?
overanalyze. Nobody likes that.
Don't? Okay.
You don't know about the Salem Easy Pass? It's actually
here's
very
the thing.
affordable.
I mean, we think about all these challenges, we think about all these trials, we even think about the Salem Seven, who were directly related to Agatha because they were part of her coven and she, or whatever, or they burned her at the stake. Agatha's not being held accountable for any of her actions. Anytime they get into a trial, she's always the hindrance. She's always the one kind of getting in the way, and she's not doing it right. She didn't deal with the Salem Seven. So whether or not Patti LuPone comes back, I don't think she will. I think she's done. I believe that there's going to be some kind of reckoning with Agatha. She's going to have to face up to some of the stuff that she's done in these last couple of episodes. And I think that's the fascinating thing that brings us back to her being the lead of this show.
Is it going to be like the series finale of Seinfeld, where she's visited by all of the people that she's wronged over the thousands
I'm
of
hoping
years?
for.
Yeah, well, me too. I'd like to see Uncle Leo on this. I don't know.
I'd love to
about
see the
anyone else.
Titanic.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Sparky. I
Yeah,
mean,
Sparky, number one.
Last image, her dead, Sparky peeing on her grave. Done.
Ralph Boner,
rest in
back.
power, Sparky. Rest in power. Absolutely. So yeah, I think that the first few weeks of this show definitely felt like it was a bit of a slow build, but all of us had faith. Katie, you were always on board from the beginning.
I was.
I
understand and I admit that there were some things that were a little bit slower and really not quite great. But I loved this journey. I feel like we got to a really great place and that it really built to something cool.
Yeah. And as we sort of look ahead now, we have finally the really bad Billy secret. There's also this notion that Rio is death. Okay, we have it now. We know this. So where do we think we go with this it's not new information, but it's new confirmation. I'll ask you first, Brody. Where do you think we go from here?
I think we have to find more about the relationship with Agatha. Like they clearly, she said, I like the bad boys. So she knew she was death, which we now know when she put the microphone on, she knew she was revealing her plan. She knew she was death. She's dated her. She has a relationship with her and she kept all that secret. She knew everyone was going to die. If I'm Jen, I'm thinking you still may die. Everyone else is dead, Jen. You may not get out of this. I'd be worried.
Yeah.
I mean, what else can you find out from death other than you have to try to cheat death? Jen cheated death. Technically Agatha cheated death because they brought back the old witch, her mother, and she was able to escape because Alice saved her by shooting her with her power. So they still have to face, I mean, did they escape death where death is like, oh, you escaped death, so I'm not after you anymore? I don't know. I think to Katie's point, they still need to face death again because they, but the Salem 7 thing is how they got through everything. That thank you. That bothers me as well.
The fact that Agatha didn't face them, I was just like, really? They've been running the whole time, and then Leo's the one that solved it. Like that, it felt a little bit like, oh, well, that seems like a missed opportunity.
But maybe they weren't on a journey. Maybe they weren't on a journey, so they didn't have to go through trials. They don't want anything at the end of the road. Or they are
a trial. I mean, maybe like the rules are different for them. They're not trying to make it to the end of the road. They are part of the road. They are built into the road, if you will.
Okay. But to Eric's point earlier that we should never count anybody out, they could very well actually not be dead. And yes, that is a gruesome way to go, but they were dead already. So that doesn't mean, especially if we're getting some kind of trial of Agatha, we might actually get to see them. We might get reveals. And then if we do, Ivan, then maybe it'll seem like less of an afterthought. It's just more they got away from them in the moment, it's just sort of waiting for whatever the next chapter is. Or if they stay dead, then you're right, it's a missed opportunity. So I guess we'll see how that
all will be revealed shortly. I mean, it
was
Agatha all along, so I mean,
and they still haven't played that dumb song yet. I'm assuming, and I love that song the first time I heard it. Just the fact that they built a show around it is still still a little
hilarious.
Hard to imagine. But I figure we're going to hear it at the very end of the final episode. That's how it will take us out. But Eric, what do you think is in store for us for next week's 2-episode finale?
I think we're going to be getting some kind of variation of a Luke, Emperor, Darth Vader moment involving Billy. I think Billy's going to have to choose here. And maybe death could offer a chance for Billy to be reunited with his brother, possibly even his mom, his dad, who knows? And Billy's going to have to sort of decide because obviously they've set up Agatha as being closer to a quote unquote good guy than Death.
Sure.
But I think it's all going to, of course, it's going to hinge on Billy. Billy's the one who set this in motion. And I think Billy in the end is going to have to decide who is he. And again, is he Billy or William will come to play. I am curious about Agatha's journey and all this, like where she lands. And this is again where I think maybe the last few episodes, her emotional journey got a little soft because it started off pretty good. But I think the last couple, she's kind of gotten lost a little in translation. That all being said, this is an actual TV series. This is something we've talked about, of course, with lots of these Marvel properties, the ones that just feel like kind of, or even to take us to Star Wars properties, the ones that feel like kind of bloated, misshapen movies versus an actual TV show. And this is one like Wanda before it, where I think it really took advantage of the TV format. I think it was very smartly put together. As much as I loved Agatha, I didn't know I necessarily needed more of her, but I think this show definitely showed its merit and was very different than everything else. I love the look of it. I think I kind of wish Tim Burton took an episode or two because he would have. This feels like he would have directed the heck out of it. But I think they've set themselves up well. 2 episodes, I don't know. We'll see. I guess it's a supersized. Maybe it'll feel like a supersized 1 episode, which I'm fine with. But I feel like we have kind of hit that end of the road. So. It's going to hinge on I think a big choice for Mr. Billy. That's my guess.
And there were a couple of Star Wars references in your response there, and I'm wondering if you have any idea, if you want to hazard a guess, what is Billy's midichlorian count? Do we have any idea?
Legally, he can drive in Nebraska, but not in Utah.
What were you going to say, Brody?
To the point about Billy and the choices he has to make. One of the tarot cards was reunion, right? I think, or he wanted a reunion with his whole point was he wants to find his brother. But what if reunion when he gets to the end of the road and he gets his wish that instead of reunion with his brother, he chooses to have his mother back to life. And that's how they bring the Scarlet Witch back.
It would be a bold move. I feel like because he's established that he's looking for his brother, Tommy, I feel like that's really what he's going to want. Because
but he did say, is the Scarlet Witch really dead? Like, he seems like he's...
I think we'll probably get a conversation maybe with Rio, and maybe she'll tell us.
So I think a reunion with his brother is something he can do on his own. He can find his brother. But bringing his mother back to life, I'm just saying, if we're throwing things against the wall, if he has a wish and Death is there, maybe his wish is to bring her back to life, because at some point, maybe in episode 8, he realizes he's Billy and not William, and then realizes his mother, he has a chance to bring her back. Just a thought.
Yeah, although I did want to talk about, there's this moment where Agatha answers Billy's question, is the Scarlet Witch dead, which just came up a moment ago. And she says, yes, no, I don't know. And I feel like if you were able, if you gave Kevin Feige truth serum, that would actually be his answer too. He's like, yes, no, I don't know.
Maybe.
There's,
so hard to say.
There's like 8 scripts floating around. Some of them she needs to stay dead, and others. Ivan does point out that Billy angrily declared Wanda isn't his mother, which is messed up. He was going through.
I think he's saying he has a mom.
He says he has a mom.
Yeah,
right. He didn't say that she wasn't his mother. He was saying adopted kids were like, no, she's my mom. But he still has a biological mom, and that is Wanda. He never said Wanda was not his mom.
Yeah, so, no, I've seen I've seen PSAs that say something along the lines of, anyone can be a father, but it takes someone special to be a dad. So
Kurt
it's the
Cobain
same
also
thing.
saying that
he has a mom. Did he?
Yeah.
Did he?
Wow.
Yeah. I'll find you the lyric. Don't worry.
Was Courtney Love lurking behind him as he was singing that?
She turned out to be Death.
But also consider that. Sorry, going back to the Tommy versus Wanda thing. Consider this. The end of the episode. What was the song that played?
If I could save time in a bottle,
which is from Katie.
which is from the scene where Quicksilver runs around the
Yep.
room in Days of Future Past.
Yes, it is.
So I don't know. That just feels like a hint towards like where his journey is still continuing towards.
What do we think about Kama Egan's suggestion? I think, just like in the Eternals, we're going to get either a Scarlet Witch voiceover or a brief cameo. Now, I think she's referencing the voiceover in the post-credit scene that featured Dane Whitman, the Black Knight, and everyone assumed
Blade.
that voice was Mahershala Ali, aka Blade, or perhaps not, because that film
hold
has
on.
been indefinitely shelved.
2028 Eric Connor's here now, and I just saw Blade.
Oh wow!
And it was starring
but who
Wesley
was in
Snipes
it?
actually.
Was it Wesley?
And,
Yeah.
and it was a $5 million Roger Corman Jr. produced movie. It was quite
Ooh,
good.
$5 million. That's real low. Hollywood's really stepping back in.
Roger Corman Jr. Man, he doesn't mess around.
And Eric messaged me that the song "Serve the Servants," which is from the Nirvana album In Utero, includes the lyrics, "I tried hard to have a father, but instead I had a dad." See, oddly enough, Kurt may have missed the point. I feel like dad is more special than a father. A father's like whatever, but agree to disagree. What's Kurt gonna do about it? Wow. We laughed.
We didn't.
We didn't.
I sure did.
Smells like rigor mortis.
Ding the bell.
I did. All right. So there's a few comments that I've put aside that I wanted to get to, but those comments can really detract us from our conversation and send us off down rabbit holes, and we would never do that. But I didn't want the chat to do it, so I saved these for the end. Daniel Drew, I think he was driving when he wrote this, and that makes me nervous, Daniel. As a Whovian, I love this episode. There was the timey-wimey jumping around aspect of it. I feel like the Quantum Leap talk was a little bit more appropriate, but I will certainly allow it. It was great to see everything from the context of Lilia, plus Lady Death finally. Can you imagine Deadpool interacting with Lady Death?
Yes, I hope for it. I really hope for it.
And the comic book version of what became the Infinity Gauntlet was that Thanos wanted to kill everyone because he wanted to impress Death. So somewhere there's a Thanos you can pick out of a timeline and be like, oh, Death's here. Hello, my lady. I'd love to see him trying to.
Hello, my lady. Hello, my darling.
I would love to see.
Right time go.
I would love to see a Thanos who's jealous of Deadpool being with Lady Death. Is what I'd like to see.
I would absolutely like to see that. Our buddy Farad Muhammad mentioned something that Katie sent to me, and I said, Katie, remind me because I'm going to forget. But don't worry. Farad Muhammad reminded me because I forgot. So that's.
I saw that comment and I was like, well done, Farad, for keying this up. But yes, I zoomed in as close as I could before it ended up being a little pixelated. But yes, that is a WV, a Westview Metro. We get I think it's Mrs. Hart in episode 2. She was talking about how the only thing I expected to see underneath it was unfinished subway systems. Yes. And so clearly we are still in this world. Like the fact that they have like an actual, what looks like a train or a metro or something right here that's just sitting there. I mean, it's a subway, but like this is clearly like the actual cart, not just.
Farad's theory was like, a WandaVision reference, and then he followed it up with, though now I see it could be short for Westview, which is, I think, what Katie thought is Westview. But we appreciate the contribution.
And Catherine Hahn was the Wicked Witch of Westview.
And Kevin Davis says Catherine Hahn will get Emmy nominations at next year's telecast. I'm not going to say she wouldn't be deserving, but I'd be shocked. Just the way that they look at these kind of products.
And the category would be lead actress for
Kevin
a limited
Davis
series.
Also says DC's The Penguin will get Emmy nominations next year's telecast.
Correct.
I think he's correct on that. Yeah. I don't know that this will, but I would be happily mistaken if Catherine Hahn gets nominated. And then he just sort of went a little further. Ryan Murphy will get Emmy nominations for Netflix Menendez Brothers, the FX Aaron Hernandez series. I've seen clips from that Aaron Hernandez series.
The Kraven the Hunter. I am predicting we'll get
Gets
a
an
Golden
Emmy
Raspberry
nomination.
Award.
Oh, Golden Raspberry. That, Eric, you and I were talking about this. This is a really tough year for the Golden
It's going to
Raspberry.
be the greatest Golden Raspberries ever.
Because just the mountain of shit masquerading as movies is it's just uncanny. I mean, back in February, I was naive enough to say that Madam Web might be the worst movie I've ever seen. It's
And
not
yet-
even the worst movie I've seen this year.
But wait, there's more.
Megalopolis was much worse than Web.
It's less watchable. Yes, I'm gonna. Yeah, it's worse. I would say they're
Joker
both terrible.
2, Joker 2.
Joker 2 is bad.
Borderlands.
Borderlands is bad. Unfrosted.
But no.
I
Kevin
liked
went far
Unfrosted.
enough. Yeah, you can. Kevin Davis and Unfrosted is a Christmas movie. Kevin Davis, he ranks his Marvel Disney Plus series, which I feel like we might do an episode like this when we're filling some time.
Oh, yeah.
Marvel properties. But
Echo.
he says WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel, Agatha All Along, Echo, Secret Invasion, She-Hulk, Moon Knight. I'm sorry. Thank you for playing, but you
That's
will
wrong.
not be moving on to the next round.
What's the opposite
Secret
sound of
Invasion.
a bell?
Echo and
Secret
Secret
Invasion.
Invasion are at the end.
A gong.
You know what? I need to record like a drop of the bell backwards. You know, where the bell gets like sucked in by the time. Secret Invasion is so far and away worse. And I know not everybody likes She-Hulk. I actually enjoyed Moon Knight. So I'm gonna have to take a screenshot of this. And Kevin, we'll
That's
pick this up in a
terrible.
future episode.
That's a
but
terrible
for you,
list.
Kevin.
Loki.
Loki
well,
should be
also
higher, I
earlier,
believe, so as
she
well,
said
but yeah.
Yippee-ki-yay. Yeah, I mean, WandaVision is not my favorite. I'm not quite sure what is.
Loki.
Loki.
Yeah,
Low
it-
key
it's-
is
Marvel-
Loki.
It is, yes, it is low key. It is low key. Yeah, and this is a topic for the future, and I'm gonna do my best to remember that I want to take a screenshot of this. But thank you
I
for
grabbed
your
it.
contribution.
I-
You already did. All right.
I feel
Yeah.
like the reversal of the bell should be when you take the bell away from someone for adding to their
Mhm.
joke, and the opposite should just be someone saying,
Eric.
"Not a mensch."
This is exactly what I'm saying, Ivan Soto. Yeah, the idea that She-Hulk would. You can't believe She-Hulk is better
What?
than Secret Invasion.
Who are
No.
these people?
Absolutely.
Everything.
The first
Who
episode.
are
Like,
these people?
I can't believe it. She-Hulk did so much better than Secret Invasion because they actually had writers writing it. I mean,
Oh.
I
And we
mean,
saw the
Secret
writers.
and they're great.
This is a hot take. You want to talk about
Ooh, Ivan? Whoa!
starting off
Wha-
a turf war with people.
Wars have
Quantum
been
Leap
fought
better
for less
Doctor
than this.
Who. Yeah.
Well, the
I
new
think-
Doctor Who or the whole run of Doctor Who? Because I
You
hear
know
the
what?
new Doctor Who is terrible.
I mean,
Same thing
people-
for Quantum Leap. A lot of
people have
a
been
lot of
saying that
opinions about
for
those
people have
too.
been saying that about Doctor Who for 60 years. So
course.
it's,
Yeah.
it's all
It's-
relative.
It's
Are they
the
ever going to
SNL
replace Tom
mentality.
Baker?
Well, he's the only one who can wear that scarf. But in any
Love this
case,
guy.
we appreciate all of the feedback that we're getting from everyone in here. And there's so much more to talk about. And we will be back next week, but you will not get to celebrate Halloween with us. We'll be back next Friday. Give you a little bit more time because there will be 2 episodes to react to. But also, Nate has a gig that day, and I just could not let him have stayed with us for basically 2 months to then not be with us for the finale. So we'll be doing it Friday at the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. But until that time, now's the time for some healthy promotion, Mr. Brody. Please let people know where can they find you.
Well, you could find me on most social media at David Brody, Brody. And of course, the Brooklyn Boys podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And yes, we're on Deezer for the 3 people that have Deezer.
I don't even know what.
nuts.
Wait, weren't they on Fraggle
You know
Rock?
That's
what
Doozer.
Katie said was better than everything that I was going to say. The Fraggle Rock was all right, but the fact that it went to D's Nuts is a great place to leave it.
We are
Katie,
not on these nuts.
where can you be found?
You can always find me at @LSassyPants, ELSASSYPANTS, sometimes with a Z if you're on TikTok. You can also follow the journey that we're having right now on the Napping Through Happy Hour podcast. Currently, right now, my co-host Marie is at the Ritz-Carlton in San Francisco, and I cannot wait to hear how that goes. You can usually find me at the Pack Theater every first and third Wednesday of the month. You will not find me there on the 1st of November, but I will be back for the second show in November. But yes, go see that faux pas. It's fantastic. We take your embarrassing stories and we make them worse in improv.
Well, that sounds great. And of course, Eric Connor, where can you be found?
I and these nuts can be found at Count Eric Connor over on Instagram and on X. And if you want to seek out what's going on with my commissioner job, burbankarts.com. Got a lot of stuff happening over the next couple weekends. If you're in the LA Valley, if you're in the Burbank area, please come on by.
Absolutely. And Cami Egan says it's a great show. That's how you know it's true. Chris Tudhill. I don't know why, but every time I watch the show, I get the urge to turn into Ogre from Revenge of the Nerds. Just kidding. Always good. I mean,
remember, Ogre did kill a man in the first one. We don't talk enough about that. That guy he dropped from the second floor head first.
I mean,
dead.
That's not where the conversation about Revenge of the Nerds needs to begin, Eric. We can get to it. It's all part of the dissection of it. But I am going to promote things again, which is that there will be a Venom Last Dance episode sometime next week. I don't have a time for it, so follow me on social media at ChristianDMZ. I will make sure that you know, or subscribe right here on Geekscape, and then you'll know when we're going live with that. Very excited to the last time that we went to a movie, Eric, it was Madam Web, right? So the bar is set very low for you and I.
Cannot wait to hear about
the bar was set very high for our friendship that day, though.
Although, no,
it was on Valentine's Day, wasn't it?
It was.
It was on Valentine's Day, and now I'm remembering we saw Mission Impossible after that. So,
and this time now we get to see it on, I believe it's Simchas Torah. So it's for the Valentine's Day for Jews.
Yay!
Eric, I'd like to Eric a little more next time, please.
Or is it Shmini Atzeret? I get them confused.
Yeah. And Ivan Soto, did you ever see that movie Brooklyn? No, I don't know what that is. I did see a Spike Lee movie called Crooklyn, but I don't think that's what you're talking about. In fact, I'm sure that's not what you're talking about. So you can find that there. And as I mentioned, the latest episode of the Black Cast features Mr. Brody and the great Farhad Muhammad as we talk about Jason Reitman's movie about the first night of Saturday Night Live. The film is called Saturday Night. So you can find that where you find podcasts. And yes, Tuesdays on the Who Are These Podcasts YouTube channel and wherever you find audio podcasts. Who Are These Broadcasters? But we'll be doing it live Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific with special guest Hack Ride, who most of you only know from his contributions here in the chat. And if you get to know Hack Ride, you might start to understand why people don't like Hack Ride. But we'll see everybody on this show next Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Probably before then, there'll be a Venom Last Dance. But in the meantime, as the great Stanley Martin Lieber would say, Excelsior!